Imagine an entire world collapsing almost overnight. Great cities reduced to ashes. Mighty kingdoms disappearing. And a trade network that once connected continents suddenly gone. No one knew why. No one saw it coming. It was the end of an era, the fall of the Bronze Age. Was it a natural disaster? A plague? Or something far more human? This is the story of one of history's greatest mysteries, the Sea Peoples. A name given to a mysterious confederation of warriors who appeared out of nowhere, struck fear into the heart of ancient empires, and changed the course of history forever. Who were they? Where did they come from? And how did they bring down the most powerful civilizations of the ancient world? In the next 15 minutes, you'll uncover the evidence, the theories, and the unanswered questions that still puzzle historians today. Stay until the end, because the truth about the Sea Peoples might not be what you think. History is full of secrets, but this one changed everything. To understand the Sea Peoples and the chaos they unleashed, we first need to step back into the world they attacked, the Late Bronze Age. Around 1500 BCE, this era represented one of the first true global systems in human history. Powerful kingdoms dominated the Mediterranean. Egypt, the Hittite Empire, the Mycenaean Greeks, and the city-states of Canaan. They weren't isolated. They traded, they wrote to each other, and they even signed international treaties. Bronze was the lifeblood of this world, a metal stronger than copper, forged by mixing tin and copper together. It fueled armies, built weapons, and defined power. Controlling bronze meant controlling war. And to make bronze, kingdoms needed trade, copper from Cyprus, tin from distant lands, and luxury goods from across the seas. This was a golden age of kings and palaces, of temples and bustling harbors. Ships carried grain, wine, and textiles. Diplomats exchanged letters on clay tablets, written in Akkadian, the international language of diplomacy. But this system was fragile. Every kingdom depended on another. If one fell, the shock would be felt everywhere. And then, around 1200 BCE, the unthinkable happened. Palaces were destroyed. Cities abandoned. Trade routes disappeared. Something catastrophic was happening, and no one could stop it. Then suddenly, everything fell apart. Around 1200 BCE, destruction swept across the eastern Mediterranean like a storm. Great cities that had stood for centuries were reduced to rubble. Palaces burned, trade routes vanished, and entire kingdoms disappeared from history. The first signs came from Anatolia. The mighty Hittite Empire, a superpower of its time, collapsed almost overnight. Its capital, Hattusa, was abandoned to the wilderness. Soon after, cities like Ugarit, a vital trade hub in modern-day Syria, sent desperate pleas for help on clay tablets. "The enemy ships are here, my cities are burning, help us." But no help ever came. The Mycenaean kingdoms of Greece, known from legends like the Trojan War, fell into ruin. Their palaces destroyed. Their writing system vanished. Even mighty Egypt, the eternal land of the pharaohs, faced an existential threat unlike any before. Archaeology tells the same story everywhere. Layers of ash, abandoned homes, toppled statues, broken pottery. Entire populations vanished, replaced by chaos. This wasn't a slow decline. It was fast, violent, and total. The interconnected world of the Bronze Age collapsed, like a house of cards. Historians call it the Late Bronze Age collapse, one of the greatest catastrophes in human history. But what caused it? Why did so many kingdoms fall, all at once? Somewhere in this chaos, a name appears in ancient records. The Sea Peoples. Invaders. Raiders. Destroyers. But who were they? And were they the true cause, or just one piece of a much larger puzzle? The answers are buried deep in history. Who were these mysterious invaders? Who appeared out of nowhere and brought chaos to an entire world? The ancient Egyptians called them the peoples of the sea. And that is the name history remembers, the Sea Peoples. They first appear in Egyptian inscriptions during the reign of Pharaoh Merneptah. Around 1208 BCE and later, during the rule of Ramesses III, one of Egypt's last great warrior kings. These records describe a terrifying alliance of tribes, arriving by both land and sea, attacking every kingdom in their path. But here's the mystery: we don't know who they really were. They left no writings of their own. Everything we know comes from those who fought them and feared them. Egyptian records list their names: the Shurden, Shikalesh, Peleset, Jeker, Denyen, and Weshish. Some of these may sound familiar. The Peleset are often linked to the Philistines of the Bible. Others remain unknown. Were they mercenaries? Refugees? Pirates? Or displaced people searching for new lands? What we do know is chilling. They didn't come as raiders. They came with families, with ox carts and supplies. This was a migration, not just an invasion. Something had forced them from their homelands. But what? Historians have many theories. Some say they came from the Aegean, modern-day Greece, driven out by famine or earthquakes. Others believe their names hint at Sardinia and Sicily, the Western Mediterranean. And some think they were from Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, displaced by wars of their own. Imagine it: fleets of wooden ships, filled with bronze-armored warriors wearing feathered helmets, sailing across stormy seas with their families, desperate for a new home. To the kingdoms of the Bronze Age, they must have seemed like an unstoppable wave. But here's the real question: were they the cause of the Bronze Age collapse? Or simply survivors of a disaster already in motion? Ramesses III claimed victory over them in a great naval battle at the mouth of the Nile. Egypt survived, but barely. The Bronze Age world was gone, and the Sea Peoples vanished into history as suddenly as they appeared. So, what really caused the collapse of the Bronze Age? Was it all because of the Sea Peoples? Or were they just one part of something far greater? The truth is complex and haunting. First, there's climate change and drought. Evidence shows the eastern Mediterranean faced years of failed rains and famine. Crops withered. Kingdoms starved. Desperate people may have fled their lands, sparking waves of migration and war. Then came earthquakes. The region lies on unstable fault lines, and some archaeologists believe a series of massive quakes leveled entire cities, one after another. Add to that economic collapse. The Bronze Age was built on global trade. When one route failed, copper from Cyprus, tin from afar, the entire system began to crumble. No trade meant no bronze. No bronze meant no weapons. And with famine and fear came rebellion. Oppressed peasants and soldiers rose up against their kings. Civil wars weakened kingdoms from within, just as the Sea Peoples arrived from without. It was the perfect storm. Climate disaster, famine, rebellion, earthquakes, migration, and war. All happening at once. The world didn't end because of one event. It ended because everything failed together. And here's the chilling part. Modern historians see echoes of that same fragility today. Climate change, global trade, political unrest. The Bronze Age collapse isn't just ancient history. It's a warning. But before the world of bronze disappeared forever, it fought one last, desperate battle. By the early 12th century BCE, the Sea Peoples had ravaged nearly every shore. Only one empire still stood: Egypt. If Egypt fell, the last pillar of the Bronze Age would crumble. Pharaoh Ramesses III prepared for war. His spies warned of a massive invasion. Entire families, ox carts, and fleets of warships sailing toward the Nile Delta. This was no raid. It was an attempt to conquer, to settle, to survive. The pharaoh set a trap. He fortified the riverbanks and filled them with archers. Egyptian ships waited, hidden among the reeds. When the Sea Peoples entered the delta, arrows rained from the sky. Egyptian ships rammed the enemy, dragging them into chaos. Warriors clashed on blood-red waters. Screams echoed across the Nile. Ramesses later boasted, "Those who came by the sea were laid low, their bodies washed upon the shore." Egypt triumphed, but at a terrible cost. It was their last great victory. After this battle, Egypt would never again rule as before. And the Sea Peoples? They vanished, some settling in Canaan as the Philistines, others disappearing forever into legend. The Bronze Age world was gone. A new age had begun. The Sea Peoples remain one of history's most haunting mysteries. Who are they, really? Refugees fleeing famine? Ruthless pirates? Or desperate survivors of a world collapsing around them? Their arrival marked the end of an age. The fall of the Hittites, the Mycenaeans, and the cities of Canaan. The great trade routes of the ancient world vanished. Writing systems forgotten. Populations scattered. For centuries, the Mediterranean fell silent. A dark age began. But the Sea Peoples didn't disappear entirely. Some may have become the Philistines of the Bible. Others blended into new cultures. Still, we have no voice from them. Only the words of those who feared them. Were they the destroyers of civilization? Or the last survivors of it? We may never know. But their arrival changed history forever. The Sea Peoples appeared suddenly, toppled empires, and vanished without leaving their story behind. Were they destroyers or survivors? We may never know for sure. What we do know is that their arrival ended the Bronze Age and reshaped the ancient world forever. From their shadow rose new powers, new cultures, a new era. History is full of mysteries like this. Stories that challenge everything we think we know. Which mystery should we uncover next? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into the forgotten past, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from history. Until next time, keep exploring the secrets of our world.